Hey guys, first off, sorry about the hiatus. I had a lot of schoolwork to do yesterday and the day before, but if I have enough time tonight, I'd like to get round 4 up as well. We're going to be going into round 3. We're going to start with a little clip from round 2, just to set the precedent for adjustments further. But this video is kind of be like, it's going to kind of be called like next level, right? It's very interesting stuff going on in this round, in round 3. First off, all credit to HBO for the rights and the ownership of the clips. My use of it is protected under the use of the Fair Act use for commentary, scrutiny, and educational purposes, and the distribution of it is not to undermine the rights that HBO has, but to give a new and interesting and educational perspective on the sport of boxing. And I'm promoting your goddamn fights, you guys. They're going to have a rematch. Come on. Don't fuck with me, yo. Anyway, so yeah, last round. So round 1 was, I gave it to Golovkin. I thought that he controlled the round. I thought the round was predicated on him timing Canelo and watching when he would take a step on that lead left leg and then set up his punches, just like he did in the Liam Smith. I'm not sure what other fights he does that in, but it's something that Golovkin showed that he's very capable of doing. Is good. He has great timing. And round 2, I think that Canelo was able to kind of figure that out and start setting traps for that very same, I don't want to say trap that Golovkin had already set for him, right? But because he was timing him, Canelo started using that timing as a trap to try and land counters. Now, not a lot of the counters weren't really landing, but he was starting to use that timing to offset Golovkin's timing so he could throw counters and, you know, kind of maybe slow Golovkin down. But he also found out that if he went to the body with his jab first, he'd get his head off the line and land punches upstairs against Golovkin by opening him up with the jab and getting him to kind of shell up when he goes to the body and then throw combinations to the head. There's another instance in the round where Golovkin meets him with one of those shots, right, where Canelo dips down and Golovkin times him with the right hand at the same time that Canelo is trying to time him with an uppercut, right? They both try to use that same timing and that technique to set a trap for each other at the same time. And in round 3, we're not going to really talk about it too much, but he kind of abandons that jab to the body because of that timing and we will talk about this part, but how Golovkin starts leading with the right hand to establish that range and to try to take that away. But anyway, we're going to kind of play this clip real quick. And this is where Golovkin starts to make a change at the end of round 2, trying to re-seize that timing back from Golovkin. So notice how he throws that right hand there, right? So he's just a toss-out jab, or a toss-out right hand, right? Because Canelo was going to the body, right? So if Canelo leads with a jab to counter whatever Canelo's doing, or counter whatever Golovkin's doing, he's going to eat that right hand. Also, if he ducks his head down to throw that jab to the body, he's going to eat that right hand as well. So probing with these punches, probing with that right hand. And if you look at that shot, he's just kind of pushing it out there, right? And I think that might be what some of the critics are saying. He pushes his punches now all of a sudden. You know, he didn't look like the Golovkin we know, right? But it's not because of his punches weren't crisp or hard. It was just because those are probing shots. Those are not real punches. Those are your setup. That's how you get information from your opponent. You're bagging him for information. And right here, you see one of the dividends for that, for his patience in leading with the right hand and countering with the right hand rather than with the jab, as he's able to get the right hand over the top when Golovkin leans in, or Canelo leans in. And then at the end of the round, there's another instance where Golovkin is able to use that technique too. So here he is probing with the jab, not real jab, and he gets Canelo to commit to that jab and then throws his right hand over the top, setting traps off of the traps that Canelo is using at the end of the second round. Canelo still winds up getting him pretty good with this uppercut, but then eats that left hook right there because he doesn't move after, he doesn't move off the line, he doesn't make another adjustment, right? And that's the first time he kind of sees that he needs to do that. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and jump into round 3 now. And, and talk about what's going to go on in these clips in a very interesting round. So right away, they start off on the line, right? And Golovkin's still using that same timing, as you see when Canelo puts his weight on his left leg, starts shooting punches. And then right when Canelo gets to the line and starts leaning, he waves him, gives him a feint, and Golovkin respects it because he knows that's the timing, right? And now this is really interesting. Instead of countering with the jab, like Golovkin had been, he tries to counter with the left hook. And he does get a couple of those in there. But what he's doing here is he's punching in combination with Canelo because of the fact that Canelo was setting those traps for him. So now he's expecting a trap to be on that timing. Because as we saw in the last round, Canelo was setting traps and was trying to get him to open up. So rather than Golovkin countering with the jab, Golovkin counters with the left hook instead, trying to catch him off guard and catch him in between his timing, in between maybe thinking that he was going to throw a jab and opening himself up and getting his right hand away from his chin. But really interesting. And then again, throwing in combination, expecting a trap, right? He shoots the jab, expects a trap. Shoots the jab, expects a trap, and throws a right hand just in case another punch comes. Now this is really interesting too, and he doesn't use it again, but when Canelo digs in like that and comes down low, like he was doing like when he wanted to throw the jab to the body or whatever, Golovkin immediately controls his head and pushes him back up. And I'm curious, and then controls him on the way out. I'm curious as to why Golovkin didn't do more stuff like this, you know, use more control techniques against Canelo, but, you know, who knows. Anyway, then, beautifully, right, shoots the jab and then ducks under the right hand because he's expecting counters, right? Because of the fact that the last round he was being exposed to traps, so now he's ready for them and using, responsible defense, very much in the same vein that Canelo uses for the most of the fight. And then knowing the same timing where Canelo, you know, flashes out his lead hand, and then he's able to take a step back. And I'm not sure if that body shot lands. It's not super important. It's just important that we're pointing out that Golovkin is wary of Canelo's timing when he's setting up his punches and when he's setting up traps off of the same timing. Very interesting stuff. And then again right here, right, a sweeping left hook, not a real punch, right, and then controls him with the jab after he doesn't see a counter. But if you notice, Canelo was on his lead left leg when Golovkin did that sweeping hook, because in this round, Golovkin is spending the round probing for counters. He's looking for counters. He's trying to figure out what Canelo is trying to set up off of those shots so that he can counter those shots as well, right? So round 1 was predicated off of him utilizing that timing, but he didn't get a lot of information, right, because he was fighting off of that timing. Now Golovkin has turned the tables on him and is using that timing to his advantage, so Golovkin kind of has to go back to the basics, back to it's basically round 1 for Golovkin, because of the fact that that information, while it's important to have, it's not serving him as well to set up his offense because of the fact that Canelo knows what's going on. Ooh, and beautiful. So first off, shoots the jab, baits the counter, shoots the jab, knows the counter is coming, right? He's waiting for the trap, so he slips the counter, throws his own counter, but Golovkin doesn't expect the next punch from Canelo, right? Remember the last round where he threw the right hand and then Canelo threw the uppercut to the body, and then Golovkin was able to land the left hook upstairs. This time, instead of the second shot actually landing after the counter from Golovkin, or from after Canelo lands his counter and then Golovkin being able to recounter, Canelo expects the counter and is able to slip and one-up Golovkin. So on the adjustment that Golovkin is making, baiting the traps now, because now Golovkin is baiting the traps from Canelo, Canelo is one-upping him and adding another layer on top of it. Just beautiful boxing from both of them making adjustments. But most of this round is predicated off of Triple G baiting baiting traps. And again, right here, this right hand doesn't land. Golovkin blocks it, but look at the timing of it, right? If you watch the way that Canelo's throwing that 1 and then a 2, he's expecting a counter 2, right? And Golovkin knows that he's baiting the counters as well. So he's just being patient. Maybe he wasn't ready. Maybe he wasn't, whatever. But again, knowing that Canelo is setting up traps, shoots the jab off of that little, kind of parry that Canelo gives him right there. He touches his glove, and then Golovkin shoots the jab, and he knows that counters are coming. He knows that it's a trap, but he's baiting into it to get information from Canelo to figure out where he wants to move from here. And then again, more getting information, shooting inside, seeing how Canelo reacts. Just beautiful boxing. And then, whoops, a little too far, Canelo shooting the jab again, and Golovkin countering it with the left hook rather than going to the jab and eating a right hand, right? Because he's expecting a right hand off of the jab, right? So very similar to this last clip where, whoops, was it here? Here. He shoots the 1 and then the 2. Golovkin is expecting the same exact thing right here. Whoops, right here and sorry, the frame right here, HBO was moving their camera angle. This is the closest I could cut it. But Golovkin times the jab and expects the right hand to come right after because of the trap that he's trying to set, that Canelo's trying to set, and tries to time him by landing the left hook. So now we have Golovkin trying to take advantage of the traps that Canelo is setting. Very interesting stuff, you guys. And again, Golovkin shooting the right hand, probing, looking for the counters. Now this is really interesting too, because check this out. He shoots the right hand, and if you look at Canelo, he's standing straight up. He sees that Canelo's going to throw the left hook. This will be important later on. Now again, I think he's looking for the left hook there, but Canelo, very smart. Canelo he surprised me with his variety and the amount of traps that he can set, and when he's expecting stuff, how he's able to kind of change up his strategy and not be super predictable. Aside from the timing, right? Canelo has been able to vary his offense enough that he's been able to keep Triple G guessing, right? I wonder what mental mechanisms Canelo has in place, or strategy that he has in place, where he goes, maybe he has specific combinations, right? And in his camp, he's he's got a pattern, right? 1, 2, 3, and then 2, 3, 1, and then 3, 2, 1. And in that regard, I mean he assigns a rotation on his counters, right? So counter the jab, and he's got 3 ways to counter it. He's got counter 1, counter 2, and counter 3, right? And he'll use them in that order, 1, 2, 3, so as not to get stale with it, right? And then the next time he goes through the cycle, he'll go 2, 3, 1. Then the next time he'll go 3, 2, 1. Or the next time he'll go 1, 1, 2, right? Or 1, 2, 1, right? I wonder if he has any of those mechanisms where he's thinking and tallying off which counters he's using so that he doesn't overuse them. I wonder, because his counters are so varied. But back to the point, Triple G using still baiting counters from Canelo. He gets him on the timing and knows that there's a trap, right? And goes to shoot the right hand, not a real right hand, but he's feeling Canelo out, and that allows Canelo to kind of land this not great left hook. And if you watch it in fast motion, it doesn't even look like it really lands. But feeling Canelo out, and Canelo's varied defense, or varied, counter punching, is really keeping Golovkin on his toes, and that's really what allows him to win the round. And this is really interesting too. Now Golovkin trying a different thing, and if you look at Canelo's glove, right, he's going to stick his lead glove out there just a little bit. Look at that slight glove, had that really slight feint that he uses right here, and gets Golovkin to slip to the outside, right? And then Golovkin, being a smart fighter, he's oh, he's going to throw a right hand because he didn't throw the jab. And then Golovkin slips to the outside and then comes in with his left hook right there. Beautiful boxing. And now this is really interesting because I've never seen Canelo use such slight feints before. You know, when I did the film study on him and Liam Smith, he had really exaggerated motions for his feints. You know, some of them were pretty decent, right? But nothing that good and that effective. Look at how he was, like, just that little slight touch of his glove, that just like little slight, right? Got Golovkin to slip, and then throw a punch, right? He got him to waste all that energy on a punch that wasn't going to land just by putting his glove out there just a little bit. You know, beautiful feint from Canelo. Really surprising me. And now we have him going back to the same timing, trying to counter the jab. And if you look at him when he shoots the jab, he's not even committing to it super well. Like, not like trying to like really rake Canelo with the jab, because as you can see, he's probing again, right? He's trying to get a reaction from Canelo so he can figure out what counters and what traps he's trying to set. Again, probing right hand, kind of committing to this jab right here, and then immediately controlling him. Jab, leading right hand. And these are not real punches, right? He's just feeling Canelo out, trying to get a sense of the traps that he's trying to set because of all the traps that he set up on his in the last round. And then this clip is just in here showing that he's expecting offense from Golovkin, or from Canelo. He's just trying to fight on that timing. And now this is a really interesting clip right here. And again, the camera angles kind of panned. So Golovkin kind of starts stepping in right here. And as Golovkin steps in, and I'll have to like pay more attention in the subsequent rounds to see if this is something that Canelo is actively trying to do, because Golovkin does step with his jab sometimes, right? But as Golovkin comes in, and this is really interesting, as Golovkin comes in, rather than shooting a jab, right, like he's been doing, he varies his offense and goes to the body this time. And I think it throws Golovkin off. Again, another opportunity for him to vary his offense, because he knows that Golovkin is looking for his traps. He knows that Golovkin is looking to counter him, in spite of the fact that Golovkin is viewed only as a pressure fighter. And this is fucking beautiful from both fighters. So Golovkin comes in, shoots the right hand, right? But it's on Canelo's timing, and he knows that the left hook is coming. So he rolls the left hook and then starts moving off the line. And beautiful from Canelo. Absolutely beautiful from Canelo. He showed this before, right? And this is why Canelo is winning the round, is because of the fact that he's punching in combination even when he misses. And he's able to throw that right hand. And it doesn't look like a great right hand. You know, if you watch it in real time, it kind of looks like it grazes his head. But, boom, you really see it kind of whack him right there. He rolls with it. So it's not like a huge punch. Like, it wouldn't knock Gennady down or anything, right? Even if it landed a little more flush. But beautiful boxing from them. And a great job from Canelo picking up on him, on the fact that he's testing his traps, he's testing those counters, and is smart enough to continue punching in combination. And when he doesn't punch in combination, he uses head movement or moves off the line, right? One or the other. Canelo doing a fantastic job in this fight. Now, this is a really interesting clip. I love this clip, watching it. Again, it shows both of them being very smart. So we're going to start with what Golovkin's doing. So Golovkin's probing with the jab, right? Shooting the jab. And he sees Canelo dip right here, right? Boom. And he sees Canelo dip. And what does he do? He slips. He doesn't know if that's going to be a right hand. He doesn't know what Canelo's doing, but he sees that Canelo is reacting to it, and he knows that he either has to make an offensive or a defensive move and slips off the line, right? Then controls him with the right hand, not a real punch, right? And then gives him another jab once he's keen to what Canelo's doing. Then he sees Canelo dip down again, gives him a probing right hand, and then Canelo goes to commit to a jab, and what does Golovkin do? He's like, oh, this guy always punches in combination, right? And expects him to throw another punch and goes with the hook, you know, but Canelo varying it up, knowing, you know, kind of when to punch, when not to. How does he know? I don't fucking know. To be honest, I could watch this tape all day and just be like, oh, Canelo's just getting really lucky with his calls, really lucky with his paper, scissors, rocks. But that's not also true, right? It's one of those brilliant things that Mayweather does, right? You see a lot of fighters like Kell Brook, right? Kell Brook could have, if he used this strategy against Errol Spence, he might have been able to box all 12 rounds with Spence. But one of the things about Mayweather is, even when he makes you miss, he doesn't always make you pay. So you never know when Mayweather's going to fight, when he's not going to fight, when he's just going to have some flashy defense. And because of that, he's able to go 12 rounds much easier, conserve energy, and create an air of unpredictability, right? It's one of the most important things in boxing, right? That's why one of the reasons why Canelo is doing so well, the unpredictability of his counters, why Golovkin is taking this entire round to feel him out, because Canelo is varying the kinds of counters that he uses so well. But that's something that Mayweather did throughout his career so well, is not always fighting off of the mistakes that your opponents make. And if Kell Brook, and that was something that I talked about too in the breakdown of that fight, that Kell Brook was going to try to make Errol Spence pay every single time. And I'm not sure if I talked about that being a negative for him, but he's got that mentality, and in that fight, I don't think it served him super well. He could have used more movement or whatever. But anyway, we're talking about Canelo and Golovkin, and Canelo doing a great job of not being predictable. And I don't want to say staying ahead of Golovkin, right? But he is. But he is staying ahead of Golovkin in that regard. Now, Golovkin using a different strategy, trying to set up his punches. He starts feinting, and taking angles, right? Shooting off to the side, his footwork, and moving. But Canelo does a great job of staying with him. Very beautiful boxing from Canelo. And I think that Golovkin kind of gives away his jab right here when he ducks down like this. This might be some tape stuff that Canelo has seen before, because Golovkin really hasn't led with a lead left hook before. But he's able to block it perfectly and knows exactly what he's doing. He's not as lucky with the second left hook. And again, the frames, the way that HBO was cutting the tape, it's really hard to get this in there. But you can see it hits the glove first, this next lead left hook, and then it kind of cracks Canelo right on the cheek. And the reason that that's really important is because right after that lead left hand, he goes to the jab right here and starts setting his own trap. And notice how he feints him again. Boom. Canelo catches it, and then And then Golovkin gives him a slight feint with his jab too. Boom. Gets Canelo to try to catch the jab again, right, from this range, and then catches him with the left hook. Boom. Brilliant. And one thing that I love about that is instantly Canelo says, okay, and this is interesting because, like, oh fuck, I didn't talk about this at all. I'll talk about it at the end of the fight, but this might be one of the reasons why Canelo comes forward right here, gives him a little feint too, right? And this is really interesting because Golovkin kind of flashes his lead glove out there, right? Trying to get a response from Canelo. I think he was thinking that he was going to get another lead left hook on him, but because Canelo just saw that, Canelo shoots his own jab and slips, and he would have perfectly slipped the left hook had Golovkin thrown it. And this is a continuous clip, by the way. This is the same clip as this, right? It just keeps going. I didn't cut it or anything. It's just HBO's angles. And then goes immediately into that, and Canelo's able to catch him with a shot and kind of forego that probing. Because like I said earlier, Golovkin in this round used a lot of probing, as I've shown you, with his lead left hand, and Canelo was able to pick up on that, on the probing, and catch him with the combination. And I don't know what lands. I know that the jab lands, but it's not super important. It's just important that at this point in the fight, Canelo was picking up on the probing as well. So they're both making adjustments, and it's kind of coming down to who's making the right adjustment at the right time. Just beautiful boxing. Oh, and now this is really interesting. So, oh shit, what was I going to say about this clip? I know it's in here for a reason. What was he trying to set him up for? I can't remember what he was trying to set him up for, but when Golovkin was doing this earlier in the round, or in the fight, Canelo, Canelo would body up with him, right, and put his gloves up against Golovkin's gloves. And here, Canelo making another adjustment, right? Not leading with the jab, but leading with the hook, keeping it varied on him, and varying his offense and varying his tactics, and how he's kind of countering Golovkin's strategy right here. Beautiful boxing again, and Golovkin was kind of trying to... I can't remember what punch it was that Golovkin was trying to set up, though. Maybe it was another uppercut. I do think he caught him with an uppercut, like some probing uppercuts, not real ones. But this time, you know, Canelo making a good adjustment and not falling for it, and then controlling him after, something we don't see a lot from Canelo at all. And then again, super funny. I don't know why Golovkin thought that the trap right here, if it didn't work right there, why it was going to work this time, right? So he gives him the same trap. Whoops, the frame kind of cut off for me. So he gives him the same trap, and Canelo just catches him with an uppercut instead, you know. And then the counters don't come correctly from Golovkin because he wasn't ready for that punch, right? He wasn't in position to land it. But very interesting stuff. And then again, the last clip. Whoops. I don't know if it was showing for you, but shoots the right hand. Not a real right hand, but he's picking up on Canelo's timing, right? And Canelo's traps. He's able to easily slip that shot and then set him up for this left hook. But again, Canelo knows, oh, if he's not punching, he needs to be moving. So kind of one step ahead of Golovkin's trap as well. So traps on traps on traps. Great boxing from both fighters. Whoops. Is there more? No. Okay. But yeah, very interesting round. And another round, and I didn't show all the punches. I didn't show all the punches that that were landed in the round. It was definitely a Canelo round in my eyes. Everything that he had for Golovkin in this round was just too varied. In spite of the fact that Golovkin did land a couple really good left hooks at the beginning of the round and at the end of the round, but Canelo was able to kind of keep him guessing and land punches just like this while Golovkin was setting up traps for his traps. And Canelo was just kind of one step ahead of him. A great round, beautiful boxing from both fighters setting traps. Just amazing to watch. And it's interesting because like about halfway through watching Daniel Jacobs and Golovkin fight, I was so sick of that fight. I thought I never wanted to watch it again. I was so disheartened when I thought I might have to use it for film study against for his fight against Canelo. But I was glad that I got to do some stuff on Kell Brook instead. Because you know, Daniel Jacobs didn't really fight with Golovkin. You know, he didn't box with him. He had a strategy where he was just trying to spoil Golovkin's offense and occasionally land punches, counter punches, or whatever. And that's not really my style of boxing. You know, Canelo is actually trying to fight him, actually trying to outthink him, actually trying to win the fight. You know, and it was just beautiful to see. It was amazing heart from both fighters. Yeah. Anyway, I thought I was going to talk about something at the end of the round, but I'm not sure what it was now. I do that a lot. I normally have a really great memory, but my mind just kind of, I don't know, moves so quickly from one thing to the other that I don't remember what the fuck it was. Scoring. I'm not sure if I want to talk about that. Nah, whatever. Maybe I'll watch my own video. Nah, I already spent a half an hour making it. I don't want to spend a half an hour watching it. I don't care what I have to say anyway. I'm stupid. Thanks, guys. Oh, thanks to everyone who's leaving comments. I love conversing with you guys about boxing, like I said. And everyone who's subscribed to my channel, I really appreciate the support. Yeah, thanks, guys.